Hello, gorgeous souls. Welcome back. Today we are taking a look at the lunar eclipse in Virgo happening on March the 3rd. And this eclipse is wrapping up a year and a half cycle where we have had the nodal axes in Pisces and Virgo. So a significant release and clearing is happening around this full moon energy. Lunar eclipses are full moons, so there's the releasing element there, the 1.5 year cycle that is wrapping up. And also, this eclipse is happening on the south node, which is a connection to the past, as well as the gifts we've learned that you're meant to bring forward into the new chapter. The ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, the communication planet, and it is going retrograde through Pisces at the time of the eclipse. And this really is supportive as well of what subconscious patterns and programs is it time to release that aren't meant to come with you into the new chapter. So we're going to be taking a closer look at that energy today as well. It's a very significant part of this eclipse because Mercury is at fall in Pisces, so it's already not at its strongest. And then when it's retrograde, there is a significant message coming through. And as always, I want to guide you in working with the energy in the highest octave and expression, because when we know how to manifest with the energy of Mercury and Pisces, we can create some really beautiful shifts in our life at this time. Like the limits are removed, our imagination is wide open. And when we direct that consciously and intentionally, we can really shift into a whole new paradigm and timeline by the time we're celebrating the equinox. So let us dive right in. I am going to share my screen here and let's take a look at the major energies that are happening around this Virgo eclipse. So the highlight, 12 degrees of Virgo is where the moon is landing next to the south node. And Virgo is connected to our day-to-day routine. And it is this reminder that what we do consistently is what is creating the results in our life. So if there's something that we want to change, we want to have a different experience, take a look at the habits you're consistently engaging in, the thoughts that you are consistently entertaining, because that is what's creating these larger experiences and the results you're getting in your life. Virgo is also very connected to physical health and well-being, and especially the things we do on a daily basis that contribute to that. So things like our sleep schedule, our diet, and because it is a full moon, we're really honing in on that. What can we change? What is it time to shift in our routine in order to get new results? And again, not just the physical action, although Virgo is a very practical sign. So it definitely is about the practicality of what we're doing day to day, that it's time to mix up or shift. But it's also ruled by Mercury, which again relates to our thoughts and our mind. And for other reasons we're going to dive into soon, like this lineup of planets in Pisces, we're going to see why it is actually the perfect time to do that deeper rewiring work and have an awareness of what is the conditioning that's been playing out that isn't coming with me in this new season, which will enter on the equinox. But we've already had a really good preview of it with Neptune and Saturn now in Aries, now in the year of the fire horse. So in many ways, that new beginning energy is already happening. For some people, you may not be feeling it yet. It really just depends. Where is this lineup of Pisces happening for you, where all these planets are? So basically, where does Pisces land in your chart? What house does it fall in? Because some people really started 2026 already feeling like they're tapped into the year of the fire horse. So like, this is my year. Accelerated growth, rapid momentum, just feeling the passion. Other people were feeling like they're still, kind of wrapping up things from the past, doing a lot of internal work, feeling the call to go more inward. And that can be amplified with Pisces season. So it's interesting, on February 20th, we had Saturn and Neptune in that famous conjunction, 0 degrees of Aries, creator degree of the zodiac. I mentioned that in my other video on the Aquarius eclipse, which I'll link below, because there's a lot of big themes there that are continuing to play out in new and different ways now that we're at the lunar eclipse. So I'll link that video below. So we had this conjunction, which is opening up a new timeline collectively, a new paradigm, very beginning degrees of the zodiac. But then we also moved into Pisces season, which is about endings and completion and more of that internal focus. So we're kind of dancing between both worlds of what needs to be brought to completion to fully feel like we can move forward. And this can almost feel like a death of the old versions of ourself, like maybe some of the roles we've played, how we've showed up in the world that actually don't feel authentic to who we are today, the results we want to get, the vision that we feel is calling us forward. So we're having a deep awareness of that with this lunar eclipse. So let's go back to Virgo for a moment because this is another hot spot in your chart. I mean, really, it's very significant to check out where does Virgo land? What house placement does it correspond to? You may or may not have planets there, but it rules over a certain area of your chart and that is connected to a certain area of your life. And what makes this extra significant is the South Node has been traveling through Virgo for about a year and a half, and where the nodal axes are in the chart determines where the eclipses land. So we are wrapping up a series of eclipses that have happened in Pisces and in Virgo, and we're about to go in to eclipses that are going to land in Aquarius and Leo when the nodes shift over mid-year. I believe it's in July, mid or end July. We're going to see those nodal axes shifting, which is going to highlight a new area of your chart. But the South Node in Virgo, there are some overarching themes for all of us around how we're spending our time day to day, the tasks we're engaging in, our routine, even our relationship to work, and really having an awareness of maybe where we're being too critical or we're falling into perfectionistic patterns or where we are overcommitting or undercommitting to certain things in our life. We're just very aware of what is required to get the results we desire, what is life giving for us versus what may be draining our energy. And that has probably really been a theme for you and will be heightened as we, welcome in this eclipse energy. And remember that eclipses, especially lunar eclipses, are a time of releasing, but it's also a time of celebrating because everything surrounding a full moon can feel very heightened and very amplified. So we become even more aware of like what's going on internally, what's going on underneath the surface. Like any emotions that we've tried to bury can really come up. Any thoughts that we've tried to like push down or avoid that want our attention can feel like they're amplified. But this can also be an amplification of things we're really proud of accomplishing. Virgo can also be connected to that. Our accomplishments, the feeling of going to bed at the end of the day and just being happy with how we showed up, what we created, and what we accomplished, honestly, with the Virgo energy. It's like, what can I check off my list? Now, the conversation, of course, doesn't stop there. As we can see, the main activity in this chart is happening opposite the full moon in Pisces, where we have the sun, we have the North Node, we also have Mars recently having moved into Pisces at that 0 degree mark. We have Mercury retrograde there next to Venus there. So there's a lot of energy in Pisces right now. Let's begin by taking a look at this Mercury retrograde at 20 degrees at the time of this eclipse. So Mercury in Pisces is said to be at fall even without the retrograde. And this is because the energies are so different. So Mercury is very much about the analytical, the intellect, our mind, whereas Pisces is more about transcending the mind. It's the unseen, it's the emotional and spiritual realm. So when those energies come together, they're very different. And this is why, when we know how to work with it in the highest expression, Mercury in Pisces is extremely creative. I see this a lot with my clients who are like very poetic naturally. It's like the poet of the zodiac, having Mercury in the sign of Pisces, the creative of the zodiac. And people with this signature, when they create content, which is for many of us, if we're business owners, we're also creating content, right? And Mercury in Pisces has this gift where people feel very moved by their words. It's often not polished. They'll often, people with this signature, I've had quite a few clients with this, and they'll come to me and say, oh, like this person, pointed out a grammatical error in what I said, or that it wasn't very polished. I'm like, that's really like Mercury in Pisces isn't about being perfect and it isn't about being polished. It's about being felt and experienced. And that's really the gift. And the reason I'm bringing this up now for all of us is because Mercury is in Pisces and it's a time to really feel into the energy behind the words that we use. It's a time to really expand our imagination while also knowing how to direct our imagination intentionally. So, with this placement, there are no limits or boundaries on where our imagination can bring us for better or worse. So, we can really spiral at this time into stories, ideas, worst case scenarios that are actually not rooted in reality at all. That's what we want to be aware of with Pisces is that we don't just like float away or create these unrealistic stories. And I mean that in a way where like it's not producing results we want. We may be feeling anxiety or depression or just creating stories about what's happening is actually like not true and not a service. Now, the other side of that is we can really lean into, wow, what is possible for me? And have a new understanding of what it really means to play in the field of infinite potential and pure possibility when we set aside our self-imposed limitations and remember there's a greater force that is working through us, a greater intelligence that wants to work through us. And even looking at like, what am I delegating to the universe each day as I show up and I do my part, which is the Virgo energy? What can I control? What can I do? How do I plan? All of that is a big part of creation energy and goal setting and manifestation. But the other key part is what Pisces brings in. We don't have to do it all. There are unseen forces at play, and our mind can't possibly come up with like all of the solutions or all of the ways that things could come together. So it's about leaning into that and trusting, and even an awareness can happen now of where you may be playing small because you forgot how powerful you are, and this energy comes in and it's showing you what is really available for you right now. Another thing with this Piscean energy can be dreams, can be very, very vivid. And part of this is subconscious programming is like it's kind of becoming it's coming more to the surface and we're becoming aware of it in our dreams. So our dreams could seem kind of odd as our subconscious is just processing a lot of information. But there's also something more happening here where people can have visitations at this time from like loved ones who have transitioned and they're coming through and they're sending you messages through the dream realm where we're more receptive to receiving. And that is always the case with dreams. Pisces is connected to the dream realm. With dreams, we can always have visitations from loved ones, but during Pisces season, it's like that portal and that channel opens even more for that to be happening in our experience. So you may be having that as well, where new solutions and ideas to problems you've been looping in come through in the dream state. So you may even want to have a dream journal by your bed to capture it. And again, for some people, this could feel like, wow, these dreams are just wild and like a combination of different people and experiences and places you've been all coming together. But even then, there's like an underlying significant theme in the sense of, how were you showing up in the dream? How did you feel in that dream? Because there could be an emotion that is wanting to be experienced and processed. Now, the retrograde here just contributes to all of this, but it adds a new element of what patterns, what conditioning is it time to let go of to fully step into the new timeline? Because as we move into the equinox, we are going to have a lineup of planets in Aries like I have never seen before. Because not only are the personal planets going to move through there, like we see every Aries season, but we now have Neptune and Saturn there as well. So that's going to be another hot spot in your chart for sure. What house does Aries rule over? Again, you may or may not have planets there, but it's still that energy is infused in a certain area of your life that is about to be highlighted. So that's going to be a significant new chapter and new beginning opening up, and really the beginning of the new astrological new year as we welcome in Aries season and the equinox. So this retrograde is really supportive in like what can't come with you and being very honest about that, especially when it comes to mindset, pattern, conditioning, really giving that an upgrade. Now, the other main aspect here is a trine between the Sun and Jupiter. So, Jupiter is at 15 degrees of Aries, and it's also sextiling the moon here. So, it's interacting directly with this eclipse as well. Jupiter in Cancer has been about internal expansion, emotional expansion, even expanding our emotional capacity to receive and hold the things that we say we want in life and that we do really desire, but it's about feeling safe having them, knowing that we can have them, feeling good when good things happen and not going into a panic of when is the other shoe going to drop, or if our mind is used to entertaining worry and anxiety, even when really good things happen, we start to feel afraid, right? Because we think that it may not last, or something bad's going to happen and we can't hold that disappointment. And that could be a whole other discussion for everyone who was in Sourced, the audio program that I did, 8 audios, Sourced, a lived experiment in letting spirit lead. I'll attach that link below too if you want to jump in now. All 8 audios are available, but that's something we talk about in Sourced, and not only talk about, but we work with that energy in the Akashic records and in expanding your capacity for abundance, for joy, for the things that you really desire to manifest, and like feeling safe receiving them. And because it very much is like an energetic capacity thing, it is not just a mindset thing at all. And Jupiter in Cancer, coming back to this, is helping us expand there and really looking at what is nourishing for me, what is supportive for me, and what is it? There's a lot of insight flowing through here around what drains our energy versus what is life-giving for us, and leaning in more to what makes us feel alive, and not just by chance, but actively creating. And this is where the Virgo energy comes in, actively creating situations and experiences in our life that produce that feeling of bliss, that feeling of creativity, that feeling of aliveness. The last thing I want to touch on here, since this eclipse, we are wrapping up, we're wrapping up a cycle, that 1.5 year cycle. Now, end of August, we are going to have another eclipse that lands in the sign of Pisces, which will be interesting because we'll kind of taking us back, revisiting a lot of things we may have started a year and a half ago that are now coming to fruition in the end of August. But it's going to be a very different experience because the nodes will have already shifted into Aquarius and Leo then. So really use this time as a reflection around the lessons you've learned the last year and a half, what has expanded in your world, what you are celebrating, what has come to fruition that you were working toward, praying for, and really attuning to that energy of gratitude. And if it felt like a harder time or a harder season, giving yourself permission to let that go and expand into what's new, what you're now creating, because again, there's huge focus in that with Aries, with Saturn and Neptune now in Aries, new timeline activated. So let me stop the share here. And if you are wondering how this all plays out in your chart and you want me to just decode it for you, that is my favorite thing to do. And I have Astro Akashic Business readings open right now. So I not only look at your chart for your style of communicating and receiving, and it's all laid out in your chart, your style for manifesting and creating, what makes you magnetic. We'll also look at these main transits that have happened throughout February and will happen throughout the remainder of the year, and where they're landing for you and what themes that's going to bring up in your life, and to be aware of some of maybe the lower octave expressions or patterns, and then how to move into the highest expression of that energy. So let me know how this is all landing for you below. Love to hear from you. Say hi below. Let me know how you are personally experiencing these energies throughout eclipse season. I am sending you all so much love, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.